David Reaboi is with us. He is a senior fellow at the Claremont Institute. He was with me last night on an hour-long program I did on Blaze TV. Is it time for a national divorce? I think David would agree. This is not in our best interest. This is not what we would hope for our nation. We would want for our nation. But you made a great case yesterday, David, that it's coming one way or another. It's the time to face reality that we live in a different kind of nation is right now.
Yeah, I very much agree. When I talk about national divorce, and I've written a piece about it, a couple things at my Substack at Late Republic Nonsense. I'm using it as a kind of a rhetorical device. I'm not saying, hey, let's do this tomorrow because this is great. Mm-hmm. I'm saying it's a rhetorical device. It gets us to think and talk about things that, that we're not really apt to talk about unless we understand the stakes. And
tell me the stakes. What's happening? Where are we headed?
So, I think where we're headed is a kind of dystopia. It's a kind of centrally managed dystopia of a variety of different flavors. So you've got the Great Reset flavor. Mm-hmm. You've got the critical race theory flavor. And you have all these different types of inputs, but what do they all have in common? What they all have in common is they oppose the founding. Mm-hmm. They oppose key bedrock principles like
Bill of Rights
and equal justice under the law. Mm-hmm. And, frankly, the reality of biology and all these things.
Right.
Our ability to express ourselves, outside the frame of, what they tell us we can say.
Right. Freely and openly.
Right. Which is, frankly, it's kind of what you and I grew up with. Mm-hmm. It's not a radical departure. The left tries to make it as if it's this scary, terrible thing that we want. No, I'm pretty cool with the 80s. I'm pretty cool with the 90s too.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
Yeah.
And of course, once 9/11 started, we have a whole different, country ball rolling down in a whole different country. Yeah.
All right. So I have been shocked at how many people you just Google national divorce or anything like that, and people on both sides. I gave the stats last night. I think it's 45% of the people who voted for Biden want a national divorce, and 55% that voted for Trump want a national divorce. And it's because there's no way back to each other. If I believe in the Bill of Rights, then I can't go with you if you want to shut down anybody who thinks differently than you.
Right. Years ago, I read Alan Bloom's Closing of the American Mind, which is a book that changed my life. And in it, one of the great points he makes is that the things that we perceive in this culture to be what makes us different, mm-hmm. Food and how people dress and the things they read and the music they listen to, all this is nonsense, and it's all surface,
Doesn't matter in the end.
It doesn't matter in the end. Yeah. The important things are the things that we're talking about, the things upon which we really, vehemently disagree. So, these were the important things for Socrates. These were the important things for, for Machiavelli and Rousseau and Hobbes, and these are the things that political philosophers, since the beginning have been wrestling with.
Right.
So they're not inconsequential. It's not. It's a really big deal.
So you were saying last night that one of the things that we have to do is we have to start waking up to a two-rail society. That there are those who are going to go this way, and then those that want to go the other way. But that is a monstrous task to accomplish quickly. Because you need pretty much everything. Texas is the only one that has its power grid, and it is disconnected from the rest of the country. Texas is the only one that has all of their gold in place. But you need new banking systems because, I say this, and I'm not sure people really understand. It's going to be harder and harder for you to get a loan. Can you explain that? Do you agree with it?
I mean, I'm not an expert in the loan industry.
Right. But I mean, that because of ESG and some of these other things, like there's a story today that the green energy companies can't get a loan. Right. They can't get financing. No one will give them financing. So if you are one of these companies or people that are on the out,
right,
they're going to crush you. They'll crush you.
Yeah, they will crush you. I call it an intellectual or an ideological cartel. So if the state, the state really doesn't have to do anything.
Right.
But the, private companies, which comprise an ideological cartel, they all think the same way.
Right.
They all, are all rent-seeking, incurring favor from the government, though it's kind of one step removed. They'll just be the enforcers. I mean, we saw this with Parler. Which was the best example.
We're seeing with the vaccine
mandates, right? With Southwest.
Right. There's no mandate. It's not written. It's not done. And yet they're all doing it.
Right. They're leaping to do it.
Yes.
They cannot wait to do it because, a combination of they believe in it and they're trying to curry favor with the government.
So what should people be doing right now? How should we be thinking?
I would say that everybody who runs a business in America, small or large, you could have a pizza shop or a bakery or, something, or you could have a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Figure out how to put it in service of let's say, Red America. Figure out how to say, I'm going to create a product that appeals to a certain segment and do it explicitly. The left does this explicitly. They tell you when you buy sneakers, when you buy any other products, the subliminal message with Colin Kaepernick that their Nike is sending is, these shoes are not for you, Red America.
Right.
So we do the same. We need to.
Doesn't that widen the divide?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think really anything that we do necessarily can widen like that can widen the divide. Because what we need at the end of the day is self-sufficiency. We need to be able to say, health insurance company that, won't cover, basic whatever.
Your transplant because you haven't
won't cover your transplant, but will cover any type of
abortion,
or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start a company that is more reasonable to or amenable to Red America.
So I don't know why this doesn't happen more often because we've obviously shown that you can get out of that and you can start your own thing. And if you are appealing to, I'd love to have everybody listen, but we're clearly for these principles and you can make money there. And there's a ton of people that are craving product. The problem is that, for instance, banking, the federal regulation of banking is crazy. For us, the internet, social media, you're going up against Google to make anything that is separate, apart, and good is years in development.
Yeah, it's years. It's going to be very difficult, but this is why we need really good red state governors that can help out with this. And we need more people who are, living in New York and New Jersey and California who are, who are conservative to move to Texas, bring their companies and set things up. More money, more, more entrepreneurship, more, entrepreneurship in the service of these principles. Let's get real. For decades, we thought, we're all, the board of directors is all personally conservative, but we're operating as if we're agnostic to what's happening in America.
Right.
That can't fly anymore. And And I think people are starting very slowly to wake up to that fact.
I just heard from a friend this morning who said he is seeing so many people who are conservative walking away and just going, it's time for me to take care of my family and just buckle up for what's coming. And I just don't think there's a win in the end for you and your family because
if you're so atomized.
Yeah, if you're all by yourself and you think you're just going to be able to be quiet and survive, remember, the Great Reset's plan is that you will own nothing by 2030. That's quite an amazing statement to make. I mean, think of how do you get a country that is so focused on ownership of things to have the population own nothing in 8 years? You're not going to be left alone. You're not going to.
Right.
There's no place to hide here, and the idea that we strengthen and we gather together in these red states and we hold our politicians locally and at the state level responsible. We hold their feet to the fire. I mean, we just had a girl on that was arrested at a high school in Laramie, Wyoming, for not wearing a mask. Laramie, Wyoming? When you have that happening in a just an absolute red state like Wyoming, you got problems.
It means that people are sleeping on the job. It means the people in Wyoming said, you know what? Things are pretty cool. We don't have to watch the school board. Mm-hmm. We don't have to keep our eyes on these things. And they're going to start having to do so. The other thing, we've been through, 20 years now or at least 10, of this concept of digital networks connecting people. Mm-hmm. I think phase 2 of where we have to go is to create local communities where we know one another, we live proximate to one another, we have, we see each other often, and we have real communities again.
Let's talk a little bit about moving if you're in a blue state, because I think that if you are the kangaroo in the dog kennel, you are in deep trouble.
It's not fun.
Yeah, and it's not only not fun, but you have to go to where you are going to be around like-minded people who will stand. Otherwise, you're alone.
Yeah, I have multiple friends who lived or live in blue cities, large blue cities, who are of the activist type. Mm-hmm. And, you may know them. And they've been harassed at home, letters and signs posted around their house.
Right.
I mean, this is not, and, we're not talking about, multi-billion-dollar or, multi-millionaire, media moguls who can afford security and, things like that.
Right.
I mean, these are just people. And so we see that things could go terribly wrong very quickly.
Well, I mean, I hate to be, alarmist here, but, some of these people actually do talk about purges, and some of their ideology goes right to a purge. And you don't want to be around that. You don't want to be around that.
No.
But on the bright side, we can help each other. I mean, I have a home in a town of about 500 people. Mm. We know everybody. Everybody knows us. We are all kind of relatively like-minded. They're already talking about, if more people come to our area, how can we help them? They kind of look out for each other. That's really critical in the world that's coming.
Yeah, I agree. I think we shouldn't forget about cities, though, as well. I mean, cities in red states used to be quite conservative.
Yeah.
At one time. I mean, we had that. This is, insane, progressive, leftist blue cities are not, I mean, that's not necessarily been the norm in American history.
Where do you find one now?
Well, you have to build one.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, because they're gone. They're not.
You have to go. You have to build one. I'm not saying from scratch, but from from smaller places, and make sure that you have these things in mind. Make sure that it's explicit. You're creating a community, and if somebody is from the left who wants to live there, peacefully, fine, but they're not going to want to.
Right.
Know?
It makes it about, I mean, everybody has a flag in their front yard. They're not going to want to, you don't have to say anything.
Right. I mean, when my buddy just bought a house, he was like, oh my God, there are no BLM signs anywhere. This is my neighborhood.
Isn't that crazy?
And these are the signs. These are this is the symbology.
Right.
Of our time. And all of these things point to the same thing at the end of the day.
There's a couple of stories that I want you to read from Dave. One is national divorce is expensive, but it is worth every penny. And Stop Yelling Stop. You can find them at DaveReaboi.com. That's REABOI.com. Keep writing. Keep speaking out, my friend.
Thank you.
You're an important voice.
I appreciate it.
Really appreciate it.